Hello and welcome to the Chatterbox Letters podcast. Today I will be doing another special presentation. I will be reading my second self-published book, my sequel to the Minorities, the pilot. I will be reading to everyone the Minorities, Richard's Indiscretions, the Epilogue. I hope that everyone will enjoy the sequel while I read to everyone the Richard's Indiscretions. This would be not a huge chatter letter, but sort of short. Epilogue, 1 year later. It came out of the blue, a letter hidden within the four walls, despair hidden secretly within its depths. Found between faded pages of a little black book, an untimely confession was revealed. He was consumed by torment. His sorrows got the best of him. He was untimely taken over by damnation, never reaching out for help he needed for a comeback. One thing is certain, he reached deep into his heart and found a spot he didn't think he existed. He reached within the depths and pulled out a bundle of common sense, love, and understanding. The letter was written to the mother of his only flesh and blood, Sarah Langston. The letter made its way through only with Sarah receiving it, never to be replied to the one who wrote it. No returns were required, it was stated. Sarah opened the letter and read its contents. It was boldly handwritten with thought and understanding. It was the untimely confession of Richard Morris hours before his demise. Sarah was consumed and taken in by its strength, its power, and its wording. Sarah felt that Richard was reaching out from the grave even before he was lowered into the final resting place. Richard was determined to find his way into Sarah's heart once again for the one last time. The letter reads, Dear Sarah, first, I would like to tell you how sorry I am for everything I have done to you over the years. The chaos, the torment, and the terror I have caused you and your family and friends. Most of all, Sarah, I would like to say to you that I'm sorry for that day 2 years before the day I attacked you. There was no reason, no call to do what I did to you, Sarah. There was no reason necessary when you were only trying to do the right thing, the respectful thing when you told my parents that you were pregnant and that I assumed responsibility of our baby. You were the one that was so responsible that day. More responsible than I will ever be, Sarah. I did not know how to take responsibility or what to expect when you told my parents that you were pregnant. I used the excuse of humiliation to cover up how I really felt about the news of your pregnancy, Sarah. Something came over me that day, a force that was not to be reckoned with. I did not know how to deal with being a father, Sarah. I became tormented and filled with hatred. I punished you in a worst way possible. with all of my indiscretions. It made me a person I did not want to be. I think of that day at the lockers, the way I acted towards you. I was so stupid that day, Sarah, when I threatened you. I wanted to make you pay for something you're not even your fault to begin with. It takes two to tango. I realize now you did not do this by yourself, Sarah. I was also involved, but not too involved in wanting to be a father, Sarah. I missed out on the most important things of being what I should have been in the first place to Paul Robert. Yes, I found out his name through sources I had on the streets. It is an extraordinary, strong name for a boy. My son. Wow. I regret missing out on every day, every hour, every minute, and every second of his life just because I felt like I felt by, humiliated by you telling my parents that you were pregnant. How stupid I was to think that you caused any damage when I was the one who did all the damage. I'm sorry what came over next after the threats that I made towards you. How awful it was when I beat you for no reason, Sarah. You did not deserve that. If anyone that was humiliated in this ordeal, it was you. I am sorry for the pain I've caused you that day. You know how much I wanted to say I am sorry for what I done to you, to your face to face. I did not know how you would have taken it if you saw me again after what I did to you. I know you have called the police the minute you saw me. I have paid for it dearly with my life. Sarah, I cannot change anything that has already been done. What I can do is to give you a little peace of mind. You will never be in fear of what's going to happen next, or fear of just walking down the streets, or when I will pop up next, or having someone carry out my demands. I confess to all of that, and now I must pay for my crimes I have caused, the torment and the terror, the hindering I have endured on everyone's life. I just want to say, Sarah, I really do love you. I really do. I love my son even though I haven't seen or met him on my own eyes. But with my heart, I feel his presence. Next page. Sarah, Paul Robert is part of me and you. I will never forget that. Now it's time to give you, my son, some peace that you really deserve. I am going away for all eternity. I must pay for my crimes by paying the ultimate price for being totally stupid towards you and humanity. I will end this letter by saying to you, Sarah, I love you and my son very much. Sincerely, Richard Morris. Sarah was quite startled by Richard's confession of his misdeeds and indiscretions. She folded the letter and placed it back in its envelope. She stood at the window of her bedroom, holding the letter tight in her hands, closest to her heart, with a stream of tears rolling down her face. She often wondered what Richard was thinking deeply in his tormented heart. Even before his mistress' letter arrived at her doorstep, Sarah took the words of Richard's tormented soul and placed them in her heart, forgiving him for the pain, the animosity, and the humiliation that he incurred on her. Sarah placed the letter inside of her music box. She looked up and saw her reflection in the mirror. She began having flashbacks of the time she met Richard. Of the time she and Richard was first starting to get intimate. Richard's parents were out of town during that long weekend. Richard was left at home. He decided that he did not want to be home alone during that time. Richard invited Sarah over to spend quality time together. She arrived within 15 minutes of him calling her. Richard invited Sarah into the house. He immediately took her into a passionate embrace, fiercely kissing her upon her lips. Richard took Sarah into his heart and carried her up to his bedroom and placed her onto the bed. He glanced every inch of Sarah. They became naked. Richard intimately willed his soul into Sarah, penetrating her within her heart as he loved her with every ounce of passion that he had. I love you, Sarah, with all of my heart. I want you to be mine forever. I would love to be your heart, your love of your life. You are everything to me now. I love you, Richard, with all of my heart. They continued their intimacy throughout the afternoon. This was when Paul Robert was conceived out of love for one another. Denise and Emily were standing behind Sarah while she was reminiscing her intimate moments with Richard. They had been calling out to Sarah while she was reminiscing. She was startled by their presence as she abruptly turned towards their calling. She saw Denise and Emily standing behind her. "Oh, Emily, Denise, when did you both come in?" Emily questioned Sarah about her distraction from reality. "Sarah, we've been calling you for 5 minutes. It looks as though you were thinking about something." "What were you thinking about, Sarah?" Where you are thinking about our trip to Florida that we took last year. Excuse me. No, not really, Emily. I was thinking of the first time Richard and I was intimate. Richard loved you, Sarah. No, I can't believe it. Emily, we were in love once. That was how we got Paul Robert. Richard was a loving person. He was a great lover, too. Denise was appalled about the fact that Richard had a heart to love. Sarah retrieved a letter from her music box. Denise observed Sarah opening the letter. "What do you have in your hand, Sarah?" Believe it or not, Denise, I received a letter earlier today. You won't believe who it's from. Sarah gave the letter to Denise and Emily to read, hoping that it would change their attitudes about Richard. Really, how Richard really was as a person during his final days of life. Denise and Emily were startled by the contents of the letter. The letter. They were not expecting the love and understanding of Richard's words to Sarah. Denise and Emily was completely shocked to know that Richard really did have a heart for Sarah and that he loved her in spite of everything he did to her. Emily suggested that Sarah should let Richard's parents know about the letter. Sarah, I know the letter addressed to you personally from Richard in prison, but I think that they should read the letter. Maybe they will have some closure. I agree with you, Emily. Just maybe Eddie and Charlotte will have some closure knowing that their son really did have a heart about a lot of things. Sarah placed the letter back into the music box. She looked once again and saw her reflection in the mirror. Let us go, Denise, Emily. We got a full day ahead of us. Let me get Paul Robert up from his nap. We are going for a walk. Sarah, Paul, Robert, and the girls proceeded downstairs and out of the house for their early afternoon walk. They thought of Richard, and the letter lingered within their hearts, and everyone else who either read or came within contact of the letter. The letter was a symbol of Richard's destiny to rid himself of torment he felt his stay in prison. He wanted to make things right with Sarah, so when his son Paul Robert grew into an honorable man, he would know his father as a grateful young man who struggled with torment of being condemned in his own damnation. Richard did not want to live like again. But once he took his own life, he was met with damnation head on. It was at his own risk, at his own hand, that Richard must live for all eternity. That was the end of my epilogue, and I just wanted to get that 1 year in just to see what happened 1 year later with Richard. Richard really loved Sarah. He proved that within that letter. And that letter will give Eddie and Charlotte closure. Like, share, subscribe to my podcast. Hit that notification button to know when I go live. Ring that bell for updates on my podcast. If you have a chatter letter that you would like to send to me, please send it to me at Post Office Box 5556, Lakeland, Florida 33807. You can write anything you want in the letter as long as you keep it clean, keep your letters clear and discreet. And please, if you send me a letter, please do not hesitate. Send me your chatter letter. Please do not procrastinate. Send me your letter today. Thank you.